All right, here we go. Betting Weekly live. Here with you on a Tuesday. Mike Carver and Doug Kezirian with you. Betting Weekly Studios, Bet Rivers Network. Great to have you with us as we get ready for all of tonight's action. We've got a couple of MLB playoff games on the American League side. They're dropping the puck in the NHL opening night. Leave it to Gary Bettman and the boys. I think just no promotion whatsoever. But hey, we're going to start the season in the early part of October with the MLB and NFL going on. And we've got NBA preseason. We've got NFL and college to look at. Full slate for us as always. Doug, good to see you, my man. How are you?
Good to be with you. It's annoying that we have a weather delay. I was hoping to talk some baseball in terms of a game going on right now, but a little surprising given how glorious the weather was basically everywhere this past weekend for early October. Kind of surprising, but now we're getting that in the Bronx. But things are going well. We had a solid day on the show yesterday, Mike. The only thing that missed for me was best bet, but we got everything else in the show. So well done by you. Well done by the team, I should say, but let's hope to stay hot here.
Yeah, it's always good when I had a good night last night, Doug. When you pop a couple homers, too. The homers are hard, guys. I know I went 2 for 2 with Suzuki and Contreras last night. Those are not easy to go and grab. So it was a fun Monday night for us. And as you mentioned, we were going to come on and start talking about some live baseball, but that is not the case yet. It will be soon, as the Mariners and the Tigers are in a weather delay at Comerica. That sets us up, Doug. Right now, Mariners still, of course, before first pitch, minus $1.41 at Bet Rivers. You got the total now a flat 8. You were mentioning you like the over 7.5 yesterday. I do kind of midnight as a weatherman, Doug, or at least I try to. And from what I see, the heavy stuff has gone through. There's like one more little batch of showers that are going to come after that. It seems like they're going to wait all of that out. We will eventually have baseball. We just might have to wait a little while to get it.
Yeah, I misspoke. I said Bronx. So that's the next game coming up. But yeah, no, look, this has been a pitcher's duel for the first 2 games of the series. But this is, I do think we're going to see some offense here because just Flaherty, like he's not going to go lights out. He'll pitch okay. And then Logan Gilbert. But, you just wait for sort of the offense to sort of rally around. And that would be my only apprehension here with just not seeing the same pitchers duels we got in the first little bit. So that's how I would read this, but nothing, no official play or anything like that.
No, I'm going to wait and see for them to get started here. I do kind of like the Mariners today. Not going to pay $1.40 before the game to go and do it, but I do like Gilbert going against the Tigers this afternoon. We do have a second game that will start later tonight. That is in the Bronx, which will have the Yankees and the Blue Jays as the Yankees come home down 2-0 after getting smashed in Toronto over the weekend on Saturday and Sunday. Football scores, I believe, is what we said yesterday, Doug. As of right now, Yankees minus $1.67 with Carlos Rodon going tonight. The Blue Jays will have Shane Bieber. This also a flat 8 like the other game. Let's start with the total here, I think. Before we get to a side, and can the Yankees get this to 2-1? The Blue Jays scored a lot of runs over the weekend. Even the Yankees did as well. Is this total a little light? It's gone from 7.5 to 8. Not the total in the Bronx, Doug.
I think my first instinct is over, right? We always are told in the betting world, like, don't react to what you last saw. We just saw the Blue Jays score 23 combined runs each of the first 2 games. And it's hard not to just say, why doesn't this continue? Because, yes, in other sports like football and basketball, there's adjustments and things like that. But when teams are in a groove, I'm inclined to kind of ride it. And I don't think Rodon is this, Cy Young going to baffle him 7 shutout innings like a Skubal or someone like that, or a Crochet in the last round. So I'm going to take the over, and I do like the Blue Jays team total over 3.5. That feels like a short number for a lineup that's been hitting. Now, Rodon could be pitching really effectively, but still, Blue Jays can get that in 1 inning. So 3.5 feels light given what we've seen so far in the series. So yeah, I would play that one. It's feels like it's the low-hanging fruit, too good to be true, so to speak, but I just think you have to play it in this regard.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that, once again, you're going to get some runs tonight. There's going to be some action because I think the Yankees are going to hit Bieber as well, Doug. I think that they're going to be able to get a few runs off of him. You've got good numbers on both sides. As far as Rodon, the one that stuck out to me was Vlad. Now, Vlad has been smoking hot, hit the grand slam the other night, 10 for 17 with a homer and 3 doubles off of Carlos Rodon. No reason to think that Vlad doesn't continue to rake as well if you want to get involved in the player props tonight, Doug.
Yeah, I'm not good at the batter props, so I'm always a little reluctant. With pitcher, it's more during the regular season. If you kind of know an angle or things like that, I'll play it. I just feel like the baseball is just, you just don't know what's going to be on the base paths. Maybe they intentionally walk, maybe they pitch around. I know that's anything in betting, but I think it's really pronounced with batter props. Now with pitching, I'm careful with the playoffs because all hands on deck, right? This is an elimination game for the Yanks, so I'm a little reluctant. Now, you once in a while you may get a good nugget like we saw right before the broadcast. Dave Roberts talking about Ohtani, saying he wants him to go long, deep into the game, and therefore you get recorded outs. I think it was like 14.5. So if you get a situation like that, then by all means, playoff or non-playoff, you pounce. But typically I'm very careful with some props, definitely batter props, regular or postseason. I think just baseball, the way it's structured, you just don't know what's going to happen in terms of opportunity. And that's the key. We talk about usage in the NBA with player props. You just don't know what the usage is going to be for batter props because they might come up with 2 on, nobody out. They might come up with a base empty. So I'm always a little gun shy in that regard. I know there's variance with any kind of wager, but it's particularly special with batter props. And I don't know what the Yanks situation here. Now, Blue Jays pitching props up 2-0 is different than down 0-2.
It much different indeed. As you know, I do like to dabble in these things. Vlad over 1.5 total bases at plus 128. You do got a nice win, 10 to 15 mile an hour is kicking out to left field tonight in the Bronx as well. So you can keep that in mind. Vlad's plus 5 bills, plus 500 to hit a homer. So we're probably going to get Vlad involved. In fact, Bet Rivers is going to get you involved. One of their specials tonight, Fright Night Fireworks. At least 4 homers in Yankees versus Blue Jays, game number 3, boosted from even money to plus 120. If you think there's going to be a lot of long balls in the Bronx tonight between those two, which, like we said, we do got some wind, we got some good hitting conditions, and as Doug said, little team total over 3.5 and over for the game, which is where we're looking. Before we move on, Doug, one thing from last night, and these guys are going to get back going tomorrow. Are we penciling in Dodgers Brewers now? We're good to go on the National League side as we get ready to switch cities for those game 3s?
Yeah, I mean, pencil for sure. The question is, do we do pen? I feel comfortable. I don't think the Cubs bats are all of a sudden going to wake up. They did for a half inning in the last game, but I don't think we see that here. The Cubs don't really belong. Their pitching staff isn't lights out. Boyd was pitching better middle of the season. So was Imanaga. The Brewer lineup is legit, man. I'm worried as a Dodger fan. They got some like D-back vibes from a couple years ago that went to the World Series and faced the Rangers. So I'm a little concerned there, like the team that's not flashy or whatever. But this Dodgers team is raking, and like I talked about yesterday, their bullpen woes, I'm not going to say now non-existent, but they're certainly diminished with the flexibility that Dave Roberts has to go to Sasaki as the closer, to use Guy Sheehan and Kershaw out of the pen. So those bullpen issues, not nearly as bad. But honestly, they were, Phillies were one pitch away from, getting back, tying or even taking the lead.
Yeah, almost, but just not quite enough in Philly. Now they got to go to LA down 0-2. And I believe I am right. Tomorrow we get that, Doug, just like we were supposed to today. Cubs and the Brewers game number 3 right at 5 East when we're going to come on for a Wednesday Betting Weekly Live. Don't forget also your MLB Daily Profit Boost Pack at Bet Rivers. Eligible players who log into their Bet Rivers account each day during the MLB playoffs will receive a 2-pack of MLB Profit Boost, 1 live Profit Boost, and 1 SGP Profit Boost. See the app and website for more details and other shows. Don't forget, immediately following Blue Jays and Yankees tonight, immediate reaction on the Bet Rivers Network. Mike Francesa podcast for the Yankee side of things. Toronto Sports Rush channel with Dan O'Toole and Kyle Andrew. Both of those after the game. Hopefully a 2-1 series after tonight. But I think both as well, a lot of runs that we will get with the Yankees and the Jays in the Bronx. more live action tonight, Doug. Let's go to the ice now, where, yes, believe it or not, the National Hockey League season does start tonight. Gets kind of cluttered with the baseball playoffs, NFL, college football, WNBA wrapping up, all of those things. But they are dropping the puck, a triple header, including a game that's going to get going right about 5 minutes from now in Florida, where they're going to be raising the banner for the Panthers. Why not just throw them the worst team in the league to start the season, which is what they'll do tonight. Panthers.
Well, I was going to ask you if I'm a handicap in this. Sometimes the NBA on banner night, it's good to fade them first quarter or anything like that. So here in hockey night, do you like a first period Blackhawks plus a half or anything like that?
If there was anything I would take with the Blackhawks in this game, it would be only them in the first period. That's probably the only thing that I would do with them. Because you're right. I think that there is a little bit of, waiting around. You've got all the ceremony, all the pomp and circumstance that's going to go on. And these teams are sitting around on the bench watching all of this happen. I think you can jump on the Blackhawks. But honestly, Doug, the Blackhawks are abysmal. They're awful.
That bad.
They're that bad. But I also, Doug, don't want to play. I mean, minus 265 this is at now. I mean, minus 220, minus 265. And I never like puck lines where it's minus money. If I'm laying a puck line, Doug, I want a plus next to it.
I mean, the Colorado Rockies would beg to differ after what they just did this year with the run line.
That's very
sometimes
true.
you have those outlier performances. I guess my question is, so remind people, let's say it's just the straight money line, 250. Overtime, results matter. It's not like a push. It's not, you can bet regulation two-way line.
Correct. You can bet the regulation if you want. Regular time, three-way. So if you want to do the regulation, the Panthers are right now, minus 167. Blackhawks plus 310.
Three-way.
That's three-way. Yeah, that's the three-way. Regular
do you prefer
time.
that over a puck line?
I would prefer in a matchup like this where it's such a difference and so much domination. I would prefer that over the puck line. I'd rather go and play that than get involved. Because here's the other thing for me, Doug, early season. I like to take a couple of weeks and make sure, because right now it's like we talk about in the NFL in week 1. You're going off of last year. You're going off of all the things that you saw, and these teams are different. There's a lot of moves that get made. We know the big stars that move around, like Marner going to Vegas, etc. But there's a lot of bit pieces from the 7th to 20th guys on these rosters that have to kind of fall into place. So I know the Panthers are good, but I also know that they didn't care from October to February last year. So that's also something that I know.
67.5 point total for Chicago. They had 61 last year. Wasn't the worst. The Sharks, we knew about that start to the beginning of the season a year ago. Value on the under by chance for the Blackhawks?
Yes. I would play it. Yes, absolutely. I think they're going to be bad. I think the Blackhawks and the Penguins are going to be 2 of the 3 worst teams in the league, and the league is serving them up to you on opening night in this triple header. 2 of the 3 worst teams. And I get why the Penguins are there. They'll play the middle game in New York at the Garden against the Rangers. Despite how bad they are, Doug, they still want to give you Sidney Crosby on a regular basis. Because as bad as the Penguins are, Crosby is still that good, even at his age. Crosby, even
how are these guys in play at this age? Like, I don't get it. I thought hockey was supposed to be a hard sport. How do guys play at this age?
Yeah, well, I think that Crosby has that. It's kind of like LeBron. Like, they take such good care of themselves, and Crosby's kind of like a freak, kind of like how LeBron's a freak and still playing in his early 40s. He's such a freak of nature and he hasn't had in the later part of his career as many injuries as he had in the early part. Taking great care of himself.
I guess he's only 38. I guess it was the guys in the 40s that I was more baffled. 38 is totally acceptable, especially if they're like elite athletes too. Yeah, I guess that's not crazy.
They're still grinding and getting themselves out there. Penguins in the Garden tonight against the Rangers is the middle game of the triple header. I like the under here, Doug. Under 6, flat 6. It was 5.5 yesterday. It's up to 6. I'm going to go under. Sullivan, of course, leaves the Penguins. Now the coach of the Rangers. He's there to instill some kind of discipline, a little bit of a better system and structure. Games kind of got 4-0, 4-1 Rangers written on it for me. I know I've heard a lot of people talk to me about the Zibanejad goal today at around plus 235. It seems like he always scores on opening night. But under is that play for me, Doug, in the middle game with the Penguins and the Rangers.
Honestly, if you think it's going to be that lopsided and the Pens are that bad, like I'd be laying the seat. I have no problem laying chalk if it's that one-sided. 235. Now I know the market can be stubborn, and I know a lot of the sharps or whatever will just scoff at the puck line. That's such a square. But you realize the Rockies were the worst team again in terms of the money line this year.
Yeah.
Now I get it; they were historically bad, or basically historically bad. But the White Sox the year before, I mean, these bad teams, especially with the offensive explosion in all these sports, right? We know about when Peyton Manning went to the Denver Broncos, the offense really started to just catapult across the league because the league offices wanted scoring and things like that. The NBA, we know about the 3-point shooting, right? That's exploding.
Yep.
And then here in hockey, these totals are going up and up and up too. So honestly, like the old school betting market sort of rules of thumb are starting to fade away just because of the influx of scoring in all these situations. Like chalk now, this past week in the NFL is all dogs, but typically chalk, like covering, that was the storyline entire season last year in the NFL. So I think with these totals being what they are and some of the bottom teams being that bad, like minus 235 does not scare me away just from a betting standpoint.
Yeah, and this is actually one where I don't mind the puck line. I don't mind Rangers laying the goal and a half, which is plus 112
Plus
at
money,
Rivers
yeah.
right now. Yeah, a little plus money for the Rangers tonight. I think it's a big performance for them. I really do, especially with Sullivan now. He demands a lot more than some of the guys that were running the ship before him. Rangers needed to straighten some things out. Sullivan is the guy to do it. Late night game, which is always my favorite, Doug. You're out on West Coast. These are early for you, but for me, the 10:30 East face-off after I could put the kids under the covers and actually watch a little bit of hockey or baseball, etc. I always love it. Colorado in Los Angeles against the Kings. Colorado has won 15 of their last 20 against Los Angeles. They light them up too, Doug. Lots of goals they score against them in those spots. I am going to Colorado tonight. It's actually now down to minus 105. It was minus 114 before.
I know two people on this game, and I'd say the sharper guy is on the Kings, the recreational better on the Avalanche. But like you said, like I was saying a second ago, like these people get stubborn, man. They want to be cute, take the home team. It's like some of these teams are just so bad, and you just need more. Now the Kings were solid enough last year, so this wasn't a bottom feeder. But the Avalanche, like you meant, the head-to-head they own, they are one of the elite teams in the league. So no play for me because I don't know hockey that well. I usually have to aggregate with my people, but just the veteran better in me understands like this stuff pretty well, and it's almost like you don't have much to go on. It's a hard pass for me, but I do understand the allure of the Avalanche here for sure.
Yeah, especially the way that they play. Kings, very good home team last year, as you mentioned. That does waver me a little bit, but it's the Colorado dominance, and they just have more high-impact players for me on an opening night, and everyone's healthy. That's an Avalanche problem, too, over the last few years. Usually McCarr's hurt at some point, or McKinnon's hurt at some point, and Shushkin's hurt at some point. They've got everybody on opening night. That's more than enough for me to go to Colorado. Bet Rivers Daily special for this game, too. 3+ total goals scored in the first period, plus 265. 3+ total goals scored there. So they're looking for a fast start on the daily special there. Adam saying probably the under in this game is, once again, join the conversation with us while you're watching on YouTube, etc. For the comment. I don't mind the under there either. I know I like the under more, Doug, in the middle game, but Colorado, I like them to win, but I could see that being the Kings dragging them down a little bit. 3-2 game, 2-1 game, that kind of situation too. And a little slow to start out of the gate also in the NHL. I don't think that these teams are ripping up and down 7 games to start the year. Maybe Toronto, Montreal tomorrow night, but none of these games tonight for me, Doug.
Yeah, hockey totals, man. I'm trying to. I came up with a list not too long ago of things I hate to bet. Heavyweight UFC heavyweight fights over on the rounds prop. Steph Curry unders because he gets on a heater. You're just miserable. Soccer overs, just so painful. But I feel like hockey unders are right up there on that Mount Rushmore. because you can just get the craziest just run of goals. So even if you're betting an over and it's 0-0 after one, I feel like that's easier to stomach than the other way. I just think the unders in hockey are just so painful.
Doug, that's when we like to do what we call the double dip. When you have the over and it's 0-0 after one, we double dip. We go in for
Press.
more. We go in for more. Press it on those spots. A couple of futures, since it is opening night, that I'm going to throw at you. First, for the Cup. You look at the odds to win the Cup on Bet Rivers right now. You have all those teams at the top. Colorado, Carolina, Florida, Edmonton, Vegas. I can't bet Dallas anymore, Doug. I've done it like 4 years in a row, and they always let me down at the end, so I'm not doing it. I do believe, Doug, one of those teams on the left side there is going to win the Cup this year. But I think I'm going to get a chance later on in the season during some dips when they're not playing well to get some better numbers. I don't understand why Carolina's there. Every year, Carolina is a favorite, and they always disappoint. So I would not. It's like we said yesterday about Texas and Penn State with college football. Please don't light your money on fire betting on Carolina to win the Stanley Cup. Yeah, because they're not going to do it. But I do think one of those other teams, Doug, will. But, like Florida, I think will coast. And you might get them at 10 or 11 in January or February. So I would wait out any of those teams on the left side.
Sometimes with this, if you want to get frisky, I've done this in March Madness because, you don't tie up money for that long. But
yeah,
if you look at the whole left side of the screen, it starts with plus 800 or higher. So you could literally create your own prop. Okay. You can bet one unit on all of these, or let's just call it. So there's 7 teams, 1/7 of a unit. Let's just call it $70, $10 on all 7 teams, right? You basically create a prop where you're like the left side of your screen plus 110 to win it all, right? Like if I'm doing the math out loud here, it's like taking the AFC versus the NFC. You're taking the left side of the screen versus at plus 110 to win it all. I have to do the math in my head. Maybe I'm butchering it. I got to literally think about it. But let's say you put 10 to win 80 on the Hurricanes. They win. Well, you lose the other 6 bets, right? But you get your money back with the Hurricanes.
Right.
So you drop $60 on the others. And then, you win plus 133, right? So you win 80 and lose 60. So there's ways to do it and then you can also break it up a little bit, some of the money. But I think these are fun things to do where you have a group of teams. But in general, and we talked about this yesterday with the Heisman and MVP, I think it was Baker Mayfield we were discussing. You have to really be convinced the market's not going to, this is the best you're going to get the number. What I would do is I would go back to last year, mid-season, what the favorites were in terms of a price standpoint. Were they 6-1? Were they 4-1 plus 900? Whatever. And then going into the playoffs. Now, of course, the NHL playoffs are epic and the lower seeds have great chances to win as opposed to like the NBA. So maybe everyone's boosted and then the long shots aren't really long shots. But to bet some of those 8-1s, 10-1s, it really needs to be worth it to tie it up through June, right? Here we are in October to tie it up through June. So that's why I would look to long shots. The farther you away are from cashing, the longer the odds need to be for me to get involved.
Yep, no doubt. And I'll give you one heart, and that's Austin Matthews for Toronto, who I always feel like preseason his number is really, really strong. 17 down to 10. I saw it was 17 Bet Rivers yesterday, but now 10 for Austin Matthews. I just feel like he's always right there if he stays healthy. He's got a chance to score 55 to 60 goals. He's won an MVP, a Hart Trophy in the past. Toronto's going to be good this year. If they could somehow be one of the top 2 teams in the Eastern Conference, he's got the name. He's got that kind of backing behind him. He's kind of the one guy because it's hard with McDavid, Doug. McDavid's 2-1, before the season even starts. It's very tough to crack that egg. But if I'm going to try to do it, it's going to be with someone like Austin Matthews, who I know that it's going to be there, and I know that his team is going to be very good. I got 2 pulled in last year with Kaprizov from Minnesota, and then he ended up getting hurt, and that was just no good for me. So that's the one award that I kind of like preseason, Doug, if you're looking at the Hart Trophy. Because a lot of these awards, you look at the NHL, McDavid's 2-1. Makar and Hughes for the Norris are 125 and 175. Heavy favorites, and the heavy favorites tend to win. these NHL awards over the past few years. So it's a tricky market.
Yeah, the one thing I got passed along is I kicked the tires on the guys I really respect. They said if you can get the Lightning at 2-1 to win division, then it's worth the play at the Atlantic. Now, you mentioned a second ago that the Panthers don't really care right out of the gates.
Yeah.
Careful laying lumber with Florida to start, and that shapes up well for a division bed with the Lightning. That's just so people can kind of extract some stuff from the odds market right now. The Lightning are favored to win the Atlantic, right? Plus 200. Panthers are plus 250. So it's not that close, all things considered.
Yep.
But to win it all, the Panthers are tri-favorites, if you will, at 8-1, and the Lightning are 11-1 because the market's incorporating a late push, postseason push with the team that they think is better, but that the regular season might be, taken a little bit more seriously by the Lightning. So that's part of it. But it is kind of interesting, right? One team is a distinct favorite over the other to win it all, but the other team's the favorite to win the division.
And look, I'm not going to doubt Florida again. And that'll be my last thought on this. I'm always a guy who thinks that the Stanley Cup is, if not possibly the hardest trophy to win in sports. And trying to do it for a second year in a row, which they did last year, a third year in a row this year, I can't doubt them. For whatever reason, this team is so strong, and they found a way last year to kind of coast and then throttle up right when it got serious. It helps that they got Marchand as well last year, making a big acquisition like that. But I am not going to doubt the Florida Panthers here for a third year in a row. Bet Rivers has you covered also for the NHL SGP Profit Boost. Log in on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday each week to receive an NHL SGP Profit Boost. Minimum 3 legs, minimum odds plus 300. Players can receive one NHL SGP Profit Boost upon login on all 3 of those days, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday during the specified promotional period. So you can get involved tonight with the opening night triple header. All right, Betting Weekly live here, Betting Weekly Studios, Bet Rivers Network. Mike Carver and Doug Kezirian with you. Little NFL now. After the Jaguars beat the Chiefs last night to finish off week number 5, dogs straight up. I think this is where we got to start, Doug, with the NFL as we head into week number 6. Dogs straight up 9-5, the most in 3 years. I mean, that is like, think about that. And you had some major dogs win as well. 7+ point dogs, 9 overall. That is the major, I would say, talking point as we now flip the script to week number 6.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of those overall stats in a small sample size like this can be misleading, right? You can be like, well, there's a bunch of 2-point dogs that won it, not a big deal. Oh no, we had some big ones. The Titans, the Patriots, those are like solid dogs and crazy. The Rams as well, 8.5 on Thursday night. Heck, the Browns should have won if they could get one first down, or Stefanski had a clue that game was going to go to overtime. So we were close to even 10 outright. I try not to extract too much and move forward with this. It's fascinating, and I love hearing it. And 3 years is 3 years. But I also don't think I'm more inclined to bet underdogs next week. I think some of it's just situational. And early in the season, a couple of these were weird dogs, like the Saints Giants was like 1 at home, and obviously if the power ratings change, it could be the other way around. Same with Jets, Cowboys. New York, I think, is the worst team in the league right now. I don't think Fields is good at all. So maybe in a few weeks, like Cowboys would have been -2.5 in New York. But with that being said, the dogs barked. You catch some of these teams fat and happy. Let's not forget the Saints went into Dallas and smoked them last year. Early in the season, teams are fat and happy and not quite into regular season mode. The Bucs lost at home to Denver last year, week 2. So you just got to be careful. But yeah, the September and early October, very fluid market. And we're not 100% convinced teams are good. Remember, entering the season, we thought the AFC North would be the best division in football. Now it's the most pathetic one.
Yeah, and I just did a quick look. 6 home dogs this week in week 6 of the NFL. 6 home dogs. And those are various ranges, whether it's the Giants getting 7.5 on Thursday Night Football against the Eagles, the Panthers 3.5 against the Cowboys, although Atlanta 4 against the Bills on Monday night. So you got a lot of spunky home dogs here that we're going to be looking at as we turn the page to week number 6. Also with the totals, Ravens are now 5-0 to the over this year. Now, I get the first few weeks. We had, of course, Lamar Jackson in there and a defense that's not very good. And then you didn't have Lamar Jackson this week, and you still got there because the defense was absolutely putrid. Even without Lamar in the lineup, it seems like you're still going to be able to get close to these overs in these Raven games.
Yeah, I mean, I think with their offense, they score so quickly when they're healthy with Lamar, right? So that's part of it, the pace. But their defense is terrible. We saw that really magnified with the Lions on Monday night, right? That really opened our eyes out. Detroit just pounded the ball. I think that they have 2 95-yard drives or something in that game. And it's not like Goff is that great outdoors or anything, but they pounded them. The Chiefs, did what they wanted against them. And then the Texans gotta get healthy. And that Ravens defense was just what the doctor ordered for CJ Stroud and company. Now, super banged up. Obviously, what was that stat? Their top 5 highest paid guys were all out last week. So that's going to rear its ugly head. I really like the Rams. Next week, I'm laying it. I think the Rams bounce back from a very disappointing performance, whether it was a team unprepared from a coaching standpoint, unprepared in terms of professionally, like the mindset going to that short week and facing a team in San Francisco that had a bunch of guys out. But I think they respond well. We've already seen them respond well on the road this year. That Eagles game they had, and then they blew it and then blew the cover. But then that was a decent performance in Tennessee. That was back-to-back road games. So I think the Rams are the right play in that game. And with the over, you mentioned 5-0 the over. I'd go team total kind of thing too. If you want to play a total, I think the Rams will get their points. The question is, can Cooper Rush, who was way overrated as a backup, can he generate offense against a Rams defense that can be pretty good? So I do not see this flying over the total. Like I would expect a Ravens game with someone else, but I think the Rams do cover here.
Yeah, and I think the funniest part was they showed all the guys put up the 5 games so far for the Ravens and the scores. These are not games that are squeaking by the total. I mean, These games are in the mid 50s plus all these Raven games. I mean, they are flying. Look at this. I mean, 80 points, 58 points, 68 points, 57 points, 54 points. These are comfortably getting there, Doug, each and every week. So I think that's something that you absolutely have to consider as we go moving forward. Let's go for 2 here with the NFL. You just mentioned one of them with the Rams for you at the -7.5 in Baltimore. Give me another for the go for 2 here for you on a Tuesday.
I'm going to take the Browns plus the points. I'm going to keep betting against the Steelers team until I win because I have been eating some crow left and right. They've been outgained in every single game this year, and it was by over 100 yards in every game until their last game. It was only by like 30 yards to the Viking squad. Now they dominated that game, and then the Vikings got some cheapy points at the end, and maybe almost won the game with an onside kick that they didn't recover, but then still forced. Tomlin kind of slows the game down. I think this Browns team's pretty good defensively, really good actually defensively. I just think they ran into Justin Jefferson, and Jefferson made too many plays. But there was a phantom PI call that was so bad the NFL Network wouldn't even show a replay of it that extended the drive. And I'm serious, there were 2 bad calls, and those are the only 2 plays that get a replay. It was pretty blatant, and they want to control the optics over in London and the conversation. But with that being said, Steelers defense has not been anything special. Stefanski completely botched his timeout usage on defense as Minnesota was going because they could have settled for the field goal if they ran out of time. And Stefanski was stupid and kept calling timeouts. It was just bad. Allowed Carson Wentz to dink and dunk. So I think this comes down to a field goal. Don't love the travel spot for Browns. Obviously, we're out there and then have to come back, but this should be, look at the total. It's 38. I think Stefanski did enough with the creativity of the play calling. A lot of, either fake end arounds to wide receivers. Sometimes they gave it to him. A lot of tight end running across behind the line of scrimmage and the flat. There's a lot of stuff you can do with a good play caller and mediocre quarterback or young quarterback like they have with Dylan Gabriel. So I'll take the 5 points. I think the Steelers team's pretty overrated right now.
Yeah, very overrated. In fact, I mean, you just look at the odds for the division, right? And the book, Bet River, they're not believing in the Steelers. I mean, the Ravens are 1-4, and they're still right there as one of the favorites. The go for 2 for me for the NFL on Tuesday. I like the Saints right now. Doug, at +3.5 at home against the Patriots. I think this is a little bit of a letdown for New England. back-to-back weeks on the road, huge primetime win against the best team, one of the best teams in the league. Now they're going to go to New Orleans, who stinks. They got no shot. Saints have been spunky the past few weeks. 3.5 you're going to give me at home. Maybe New England a little sleepy. So I got the Saints on my radar, Doug, early in the week against New England. And the other one for me here on Tuesday is the over in the Cincinnati-Green Bay game, which also ties us into Joe Flacco being traded to Cincinnati. That's helpful for the over 44 because I think the Packers are good for 30 points in this game against the Cincinnati defense. I was just hoping Browning could get me 14 plus. I think that Flacco, even without barely even being there, and it sounds like they want to get him ready and have him play on Sunday, I think he could definitely get me 17 plus. So I love this over with Green Bay and Cincinnati on late Sunday afternoon.
I worry about Flacco's well-being behind that offensive line, right?
True.
He's a statue. But I will say I was on Detroit last week because I felt Cincinnati had quit. I mean, laying double digits on the road is never advised the NFL, but I thought it was a unique situation. Does the trade shake things up? Maybe they play a little harder. I don't know. I don't think they like this coach, Zach Taylor. I think he's very overrated, if he's rated at all. And his days are numbered too. It's interesting to see who's going to be fired first, him or Callahan. I would say I can't get behind the over because I do think as much as I've been liking those who've been following the show and the platform, I've been on Joe Flacco passing yards over. But that was with the Cleveland offensive line. So it's just a bad combination. I don't know what the answer is for this Bengals team because they've been overwhelmed lately. They're pretty bad.
They're really bad. And they're letting go of the rope on defense in a big way. Packers, of course, coming off bye. I think that they'll be sharp offensively. Big day for Josh Jacobs, etc. Give me that over here early in the week. All right, let's go for two on the college football side as well for us. And I'm going to start in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl with Oklahoma and Texas. We were kind of bashing Texas a little bit yesterday, as they should be bashed. You've got the news today that maybe Mateer is going to be able to come back for Oklahoma. I'm looking total here. I like the over. Now, you could change the players. You could change the coaches. I know things change a lot in college, Doug, but honestly, past like 10 years or so of this rivalry, 45-40, 45-48, 39-27, 34-27, 53-45, 55-48, 34-30. Last year, yes, 34-3. These games are usually wild. At some week, Arch has to get something going. Maybe I get Mateer back in there too. Over 42.5 is one of the college ones I'm looking at.
I would say be careful because Oklahoma hasn't had a defense like it has now. Now, UT's had some defenses over the last handful of years, and then OU's been able to score on them. But I think 7 wins Sark and this farce of a quarterback Manning, I would not be expecting many points from them against this OU defense. This defense is now that they're in the conference, a legit SEC defense. Now, with the Mateer news, look at the line movement we've had.
Yeah.
OU was as high as +3 the other day. Now Mateer saying he wants to play, or at least the report leaked out. You have the Heisman odds down from like 40 or 30 to 1 to 15 to 1 at Bet Rivers. The question is, do we make a wager now? Like, do we think Mateer is going to play? And so I talked to an odds maker about this type of stuff. And it was more during like the load management when that started getting really become a prevalent thing in the NBA. And he said, look, I go, why do you put a lineup? And he's like, well, why wouldn't I? We're going to get two-way action. There's going to be people betting both sides, taking a position that maybe James Harden sits tomorrow and whatnot. So in this case, nobody knows, right? Literally no one knows. Mateer doesn't even know. So the odds makers, the market, they're just going to put up a number because they're going to get two-way action. They're going to get people like myself. Well, if Mateer, plays, he's going to go off as the favorite. But then what version of Mateer are you getting? You're not getting 100%, right? He's not mid-season form and flawless, but no one is, right? It's people banged up. And then if he's out, it's going to go back up to 3, maybe higher. Who knows? We'll see come game day. So I don't think there's an edge here because we don't know anything. I think if you took the +1 and it's Hawkins and Mateer's unable to go, I think you can play out of it a little bit because I think Oklahoma's that good and Texas is that ineffective. But I would just say don't get jumpy with these kind of things. When I was younger and less experienced in my betting sort of career, I'd get jumpy and try to grab a number, but I'd ask myself, do I really know anything? I don't. This is just a guessing game, and there's no need to guess. Don't need to, you can't lose what you don't put in the pot, right? I just you got to understand the line movement of each. Like, what's the line going to be if Mateer is ruled out, and then he's going to be. But you're not getting John Mateer like the version that we saw against Auburn and the version we
Yep.
saw against Michigan. Like, we're seeing one that's coming off surgery. And Texas, I just think it's a joke. I mean, I understand what you're saying about Arch Manning. Like, at some point, like, I have a very sharp pro better friend out here who bet Manning last week 60-1. They're like, all he needs is one good game. He didn't get it. I think Manning's not good at all. He's Eli and Peyton's nephew, not their son. And I was watching some videos of competition he had. And, like, it's all name. Like, his mechanics are off. Sark isn't doing the right stuff. He's not even coming out. Like, he's a ways away. And they just got smoked at Florida. Now, that was a bad spot for the Longhorns. Florida off a bye at home. I have to bet Oklahoma in this game. I'm just not in a rush to bet it +1 because if it's Hawkins, maybe I'd bet the team total for UT under, one of those things. It's just a tough read, but my advice is don't get too jumpy.
My other one will be Georgia -3.5 against Auburn. I understand the Deep South's oldest rivalry, blah, 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 blah. I don't care. Georgia has had their bump in the road already, which was the loss to Alabama. Kirby's going to have them ready to go. I'm not a big Jackson Arnold guy. I'm not a big Hugh Freeze guy. I'm on Georgia this week, Doug. I don't care. I want to go now because I think it is going to get to 4. I think it is going to go a little bit more.
Good.
You know?
Can't fault you there. Georgia, obviously a big brand. Auburn, not so much. These schools are not that far away. The travel is going to be easy. Jordan-Hare will obviously be rocking. So there's something to be said there. But I think it's dogs or pass for me, but I can certainly understand you getting ahead of it.
Give me 2 for you for college this week, Doug.
Yeah, I'm looking at totals. I'm going to go with the old reliable. Air Force was my best bet last week over the total. I don't think people truly understand this Air Force team because they were facing a service academy, and it's like, oh, you always play the unders. It's like, no, you don't. Air Force will go to the pistol and like third down if they have to, but they have a quarterback they brought in or substituted like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he's been dynamic, over 200 yards passing, 100 yards rushing, things like that. And their defense is literally might be the worst in the country. I cannot believe Troy Calhoun teams allowing this kind of stuff. They get ripped up. I mean, Alejado of Hawaii looked like Steve Young out there. It was crazy. I mean, these games are in the 80s and 90s. So with UNLV, look, they're undefeated. Dan Mullen's done a wonderful job. They were down 14 at Miami of Ohio. They did come back, but that's because Miami of Ohio's quarterback got hurt. Eventually, they're going to lose. It could be here, but they're a passing team in a lot of ways. Now, they want to run more than people realize. The only reason they threw against Miami of Ohio is they were trailing all game. And then last week they played in some snow. The one snow game, we all saw the visuals. It was really cool. That was UNLV at Wyoming. I think the Rebels are going to have to sling it around. It's at Allegiant, fast turf. I think this one's in the 70s and 80s as well. I'm going to have to play the over. These Air Force, I think it's one of those teams that just, it's kind of like those teams, what was it, Texas Tech a handful of years ago that had totals in the 80s. I think that's what we're looking at with the Falcons. I mean, they'll have 3 play touchdown drives. This is not 3 yards and a cloud of dust anymore.
Yeah, that's a POINTS, points, all over the place at Allegiant. And I think the same thing, I know you were mentioning Arkansas, Tennessee as the other one for you with the points.
Yeah, it's a little bit of Occam's razor, man. You don't want to overthink these things. And we saw this Arkansas defense get smoked left and right. Yes, they fired their coach. Bielema is out. The neck brace is in. But it's just, we got to remember, like, they didn't learn to play defense on the bye week. Like, will they play a little harder? Yeah. I think Arkansas definitely quit. Those players quit during that Notre Dame game, and they were a defeated, broken team. Now they're going to Tennessee, but UT can sling it around. The Tennessee Mississippi State game did go over. Overtime helped. UT didn't get their offense going to the second half, but that's different. This Arkansas defense is terrible. Offensively, the Razorbacks can do some damage, and against this UT defense, I think they can. 68.5. I mean, Tennessee has high pace. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if both teams in the 40s. I wouldn't. So I think Arkansas can hang around here. I would lay it if I had to take a side, but I like the over more than anything.
There you go. A little go for 2 with the NFL and the college football for this week. Of course, the rest of the week here on Betting Weekly Live, we will be getting you ready for all the action this week. I think we got a couple college games tomorrow night, actually, Doug. We start to now get into that Tuesday, Wednesday night football. Action's around the corner. Sunbelt usually plays these games on Wednesday nights, and Conference USA, and everybody starts getting involved. So we get a look at some of those teams. NHL season's well underway, by the way, 1-1 already in Florida.
Chicago scored the first goal. So if you were talking about, you could have done a score first prop. Going back to football, I think it's always like October 15th or so, where it's like the next 48 days straight we'll have at least one day of football. It's because of the Maction and Fun Belt. So I think that's just around the corner. I think maybe next Tuesday or Wednesday we might get that.
We do have NBA preseason tonight as well. 2 games to look at, and I think, Doug, both will probably be more exciting than LeBron's decision today. I think both NBA preseason games will be more exciting than that.
Well, the irony is the reason the decision was so stupid and bad is because it was LeBron's inability to read the room. So it's no surprise that here we are 15 years later, and he still has an inability to read the room and do something nonsensical like that. But not nearly as bad. Like there's no jerseys burning after this commercial. Let's put it that way. I don't bet a ton of NBA preseason. I usually wait on lineup alerts or angles. I actually have a play in both games. So I think it's way too many points in the first game. Bulls at the Cavs. It's a lot of points for Chicago. I'll grab the 8.5. Coincidentally, these two teams played the beginning of the preseason last year. Bulls won outright as a dog. Chicago's a lot of firepower. There's a positive moment, like juju right now. There was definitely like a team on the decline the last month of the regular season, but they turned it around, got into the play-in, and Billy Donovan's back. Once they traded Ball mid-season, it was a mindset across the team to have more threes and higher pace. That accentuated once they traded Ball mid-season. So then Giddey started to become his triple-double self and things like that. So I think Chicago's going to give them a run for their money. Now, how long these guys play, I was digging, man. I was watching videos online and all the newspapers, the Cleveland Plain Dealer and the Chicago Sun-Times. And because we talked about it yesterday in preseason, all sports coaches are more transparent, right? They're less secretive because they don't care if they win or lose because they'll talk about what their rotations are going to be like. I just think it's too many points. I think we see a lot of points, but I think it's too many points here. Very small play, but I'll grab the 8.5 with Chicago.
And then T-Wolves and Pacers, the second game tonight, just after 8 o'clock East.
Yeah, Rick Carlisle, I watched the video. He's just very coy, wouldn't talk about specificities of certain injuries. If I'm Rick Carlisle and I lose Halliburton, I need to figure out my rotation and who can continue to play the pace. I don't think they're going to all of a sudden become this like methodical half-court team, right? They're going to want to keep things going with that pace that led the league in scoring, I believe, each of the last 2 years. So I think we're going to see a lot of points out of Indiana, at least volume and usage and a potential to score points. And T-Wolves can run with anyone. I looked at their preseason last year. If they faced a high-paced team, they scored. So I'm on their over as well. I mean, these are big numbers, 224, but I liked 220.5 was the overnight number for this, and it's gone up to 224, and I think for good reason.
No doubt. All right, best bets for tonight before we get out the door. For me, Doug, I'm going to Vladdy, as I mentioned earlier. The numbers are just too much for me to look away from. 10 for 17, a homer, and 3 doubles off of Rodon. Over 1.5 total bases for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for me tonight in the Bronx. And I really love that Colorado Avalanche money line tonight in LA against the Kings to start off the NHL season. That's where I'm going to be looking this evening.
So you mentioned that the over-under had changed in the Yankees Blue Jays game, but as we all know, Bet Rivers is really flexible like this, and this is what I really like. One of the things I really like is you can move the number, right? Mm-hmm. So you can bet any total. You can bet over 4.5 if you want. So over 7.5 minus 132. I'd rather do that than 8. So I'll take over 7.5 minus 132. I just don't see how the Jays bats all of a sudden go quiet, right? The 23 runs wasn't a one game that was an explosion. They had double-digit runs in both games. So I think Rodon can pitch effectively, but this Yanks lineup can certainly knock it around a little bit. You got the short porch and right. Yanks bullpen will have a short leash. I mean, obviously, if Rodon's a little touchy, like Boone has no chance, it's must win. But that bullpen doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work out, right? Obviously, we saw that in the previous round where he went to the bullpen. It did not work in a free start as well. I just think these lineups are ready to explode. It's $7.5, 32 or 8, whatever you prefer. I think that's the way to go for me.
No doubt. And hopefully maybe even a Yankee win so that tomorrow, Doug, when we come back here for Betting Weekly Live at 5 East, we have not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 MLB playoff games on a Wednesday. I'm hoping that if the Yankees win, we can get that. And we know we're going to have Detroit and Seattle for a game 4. We know we've got the NL side with both of their games. So hopefully, Doug, we can get ourselves 4 playoff games tomorrow. We'll see. Need a little good.
One can hope, right? Just get us through until Maction gets here, right? We just
need the
survive.
Maction.
Yeah.
Get the Maction going. Once again, if you like what you hear on our show, sign up for the Betting Weekly newsletter, get exclusive tips, and the free Insider magazine. Sign up for free at bettingweeklystudios.com. We will see you back here tomorrow, 5 o'clock East. We mentioned tons of baseball. We do have college football tomorrow night. We have got more NBA preseason, a lot of NHL too. Mike Carver, Doug Kezirian. Let's have a big night. I'll see you tomorrow, Doug. Bet Rivers Network, Betting Weekly Studios. See you then.